Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted to have you back with us here on the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. You're welcome, as always. Open your mind and prepare to be enlightened. This episode gives us a behind-the-scenes look into the world of atmosphere modeling. On the surface, this could look like prostitution, but my guest, Amy Taylor, is here to let us all know that this world has nothing to do with sex work. The themes hit on during this episode remind us of why we should never judge anyone, what we don't know, or a lifestyle we have never lived. Amy has been featured on the cover of Playboy, Glamour, FHM, and Maxim magazines, and there's a shitload more of those, which you can find over at her website, amytaylor.com. Have you had any judgment from family members or friends that you might care to discuss?
Every day. Yeah, well, first of all, I get 1,000 people in my email and DMs every single day saying I should burn in hell. I've been broke. Not being able to buy groceries took away all dignity. You can't choose what job you want. You can't choose where to live. You can't choose who to love if you can't fucking buy food. And after Berkeley, when I got my first job, I could not survive.
Please enjoy the show. Hello, all of my delicious, beautiful, and sexy, marvelous, fantastic souls out there, and welcome back to the Sex, Drugs, and Jesus podcast. My name is Devanin Serafino, and I am your hostess here. And I have this bad bitch right here, Amy Taylor, joining me today. And isn't she sexy, y'all? Look at this beautiful energy, this beautiful face, the brightness. Girl, how you feeling today? And she's coming to us from New York, from my current hometown.
Nothing like Gotham. Nice to be here. How are you?
Marvelous. Yeah, Gotham City, New York City. I can't wait to meet the bat. Feel like fun.
But no, it's breathlessly exciting. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's insane. It's like a fever dream that someone had about American greed and ambition and talent. And it's an absurd thing that I sort of sometimes can't believe is real in New York City.
There's a magic there, and I'm going to do a show about the magic of New York City, because I have some theories that I've been praying and meditating over about the magic of New York City, the original indigenous grounds. Some people say maybe an energy vortex, because everything flows so well there and people are so happy. I was like, why? I agree with you. It's kind of unbelievable, but it works. Even the dogs are happier the way they prance down the street. Even the dogs have an extra bounce in that ass. And I'm all like, we figure.
New Yorkers, they are totally nice. I lived in LA for almost a quarter century, 23 years. And I think New Yorkers are nicer. They're just busy. They're just fast because, everyone's doing a lot because you have to, because it's expensive. But they're not mean. And they'll sort of tell you, get it together while they're helping you. And yes, the indigenous people, Broadway, the very long street Broadway, it was a native trail, and it actually goes another 100 miles up north of Manhattan. It keeps going. It was the original trail of, I think, the Lenape, for which the word Manhattan, the name of the island, comes from, where we got lacrosse, where they were the first people here. Wasn't so great how we treated them when the Dutch got here. We all know that. But their legacy of finding this slightly sheltered island and making it a thing is still very much here. The Native American Museum is not too far from me. It's free, and it's a spectacular visit in the old customs building. And yeah, their vibes are still here very much. So
I think that those people have some strong magics, and I think that those magics still contribute to the energy and spark of New York today. But I'm going to do some thorough research and do a show just on that. Just how much I love magic and I love New York. And so we shall see. So let me read this brief little intro here. So Amy Taylor is one of the most exclusive and unique models based in the United States. Amy has been featured on the cover of Playboy, Glamour, FHM, and Maxim magazines, and there's a shitload more of those, which you can find over at her website, amytaylor.com/private model, or just amytaylor.com She's on X, Amy Taylor NYC, IG, Amy Taylor NYC, YouTube, Amy Taylor NYC. Don't y'all love the consistency there, my people? Amy's a podcast host as well. All of this is accessible through her website. So when I say that she is a model, let me read to you her rates, which for up to 3 hours, $3,000 minimum. 6 hours, 4,000. A half a day, 6,000. 1 day, 8 grand. Each additional or partial day, 3,000. So I wanted to have Amy on the show to talk about the world of being a model, to dispel some myths, talk about what it is, what it ain't. Because I know for me, the first thing I thought, oh, prostitution. Must be some sort of sex involved or whatever the case may be. But Amy, tell us about this because that's really not the case, is it?
No, it cannot be because that's illegal. I have friends, though, that have fallen in love with agents, photographers, clients. I mean, people meet where they meet, so I'm sure it happens. It happens in banking and teaching and personal training and every other world, too. Sex happens where people happen. But no, that is not offered, nor is it contracted. And that's not only because of the law in almost all of America, but because I think most sane people don't want that. And those who do are kind of in a unhealed way. We can talk more about that. But when and if I've been asked for that or it's been expected, I've always left and I would, refunding accordingly if necessary. And that has happened for sure, where people thought being an atmosphere model included that. It's a bit vulgar, but I understand that. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but I've had photographers who expected sex. And look, some people do sleep with them, become their muse, and it really can launch a career. You know, Derek was, they used to be called a Svengali, which sometimes a young ingenue had somebody who was either a director or producer or a wealthy benefactor who really took a liking to them. Yes, there was almost always sex, and it helped their career. Now, was the other person trading sex for benefit? I don't know. Maybe. Did they love each other? Maybe. These things are complicated. But straight contracting, getting online or elsewhere, where I am or elsewhere, and just saying, like, here's some cash, can I have your holes? It's a bit reductionist. I try not to judge people who like that. I understand that some people are more sexually comfortable where there is less connection. They like the anonymity, and the lack of bonding is the kink. Now, I don't happen to be into that, but I understand that some people feel safer that way. Like the bathhouse, the glory hole thing. They
Oh, Lord.
want to not be close. And again, not really the space I live in. I like to fuck people that I'm fond of. My body responds better, and I think most of us are hardwired for connection. However, as we were chatting about earlier, connection can lead to sadness and breakups and all kinds of other things that can be very painful too. So no judgment about prostitution. I am a very openly pro sex worker rights. I've done quite a bit of work in that space. I will continue to. Sex work is not a monolith. I know many sex workers, many models are, many non-models are. I think America should do better by them. I think, of course, it should be completely legitimized as an industry. It's always been here. It's never going anywhere. We can do a lot better by these people that are in it, and there's a lot of them. However, my personal experience is that I don't want somebody to demand sex in return for the money they pay me for modeling, without judgment of those who prefer life that way.
Thank you for that beautiful breakdown. So tell people what it is that you do for these rates, which as I understand that are not even like the highest in the industry. What is it that you're doing? So if you're not having sex, what are they paying you for?
I've gone scuba diving for a couple weeks in the Seychelles. I've gone skiing. I've gone lots and lots of dinners, lots of every sporting event, Formula One, Super Bowl, World Series, and regular non-postseason stuff too. I have gone shopping. I've been very much a personal shopper to guys. They kind of think I'm fashionable because I'm model. They don't realize I'm usually it's crew that they should be hiring. You name it, I'm an atmosphere model. I also have formally shot. My time is my time. I've been on set, more traditional, stills, video. I've done broadcasting work for which I've been paid. Not always. Sometimes it's my own pro bono product placement or otherwise, or outreach. I sometimes do stuff for free, but sometimes, but usually not. And yeah, what else have I done? I've gone to rodeos. I'd have to think back over the years. It's been a long career. Typically, I've gone on lots of, like, I've been like the wingman for somebody I knew very well was in a wheelchair, differently abled, and wanted some practice about being on like a date with a woman. And took that into his real life and is married now. We still keep in touch many years ago now. I am a filler for a presence for sometimes people who are in an unhappy marriage or divorce. Those people, they often try to angle for sex that can become drama. But again, if I met one I liked enough, I might sleep with them, but not because they're paying me. It would be because I want to. And that matters, right? That makes all the difference. No one has ever forced me, as we just spoke about, no judgment, but I fuck who I want, when I want, why I want, not because of not because of anything they've given me. And people have given me a lot more than my rates. When you are the person who, shows up at the charity event and is on the arm of somebody who is hiring the model to be there, often there's clothing and jewelry and purses and bags, and because they want you to look like you match, right? So that's pretty common. The rates are just the beginning. And that said, the reason we are paid a little bit more, and again, to your point, I am not the highest paid at all, is because, first of all, the state and the feds have been getting half of it for 22 years. So that's my gross, not my net. Secondly, I have a very short runway. Typically, you are not paid past a certain age. That is changing for the better, but it's still the way it is. So I don't have the, 65-year career lifespan of like a professor. So it does much like an athlete or an editorial model or anybody whose career lifespan is shorter. It has to pay higher because you have less time, and otherwise nobody good would do it, right? If it pays less, and all that it involves, the internet stalkers. I've been attacked by pimps who wanted to sell me for sex. I had to put one in prison a long time ago. It's a whole vibe. That sucked. But that all that comes with doing this, if it doesn't pay decently, and I'm not rich. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I make less than a doctor. But I do serve wealthy people, and if it did not pay decently, no one would do this. It's already hard and already probably not a good deal long term, but it's how I chose to build my life. And yeah, the rates, there's also overhead. I run a website. I pay lawyers and CPAs and webmasters and graphic designers and things. I mean, it cost me 6 figures a year to run my business. So it's not like those rates are just going straight into my pocket at all.
And you hear that people, she's paying taxes, because, which is completely different than like from the people I've spoken with in the sex work industry. So I'm happy, and I don't really give a shit. I mean, people do what you do with your money, but there's a division in between the sex work industry and a atmosphere model, providing that space, holding that just giving that service, the time and everything. When you were talking about like doing pro bono work, I took notes on that because I think that that's important. When I was a model back in the day down in Houston, Texas, you know, the agency would groom us, and teach me about the importance of not getting in your ego and thinking every damn thing you do, you have to be paid for, especially when you're trying to make a name for yourself. So pro bono work is part and parcel to being a good model, because you got to get your name out there as a good karma. You build your resume, and it's a very balanced way, because to stay in a mindset where you're not money driven, we have to be service driven, and that's important. And I see that in you, and I appreciate that.
Nothing good comes of being selfish. Now, if somebody's walking all over you and taking, that's a bad client or a bad agent or a bad lover, a bad family member. Yeah, you kind of have to work out the algorithm of your head of is this fair? Now, I look for the win-wins, right? Like, And I've been fortunate to find a few of them and been able to cobble together my survival and pay my rent and not be homeless. But yeah, nothing good. Being selfish is, and we tend to be maybe a little selfish when we're young. We want gimme, we want the world, and that's normal. Ego drives us to build a life out of our childhood into our adulthood. It's very normal to be ambitious and maybe a little selfish. But being overly self-interested leads to bad business, it leads to bad sex, it leads to bad relationships. You have to come from a place of service. The key, of course, is that the service has to feel good to you. And in romance, that tends to be somebody you love enough that doing for them feels as good as getting. And you know you love them when you feel that, right? If you're not in love with them, it feels like a chore because the love is no good. In business, yeah, maybe it's pro bono work, but there's other utility. When you become like you're rapidly becoming an expert on things, you've written a very popular book, you speak a lot. Some of it is about outreach that establishes you as an expert. It's not always about getting paid for every hour on the clock, so to speak. But yes, we all need money. In the world of wealthy men and beautiful women, which is the world I know best, it is utterly normal for men to foot the bill for their wives, their girlfriends, their mistresses, their staff, their drivers, their chefs, their house manager. They would never dream of asking the person to open their wallet because the difference is so great. So they don't see it as tacky to be like, go to my shopper and you buy the wardrobe for the weekend that I'm hiring you. Go to my driver, you don't tip him, he's already paid. Like, that is normal because the difference between somebody who's worth $500 million and somebody like me is so vast, they would find it ridiculous to ask you to pay for anything, especially if they're hiring you. But even if they know you, they tend to be able, I believe we come to this world to give what we have to give. That can be knowledge, expertise, advice, maybe when we're a little older and wiser. That can be a breath of fresh air and fun and entertainment when we're younger and kind of like a puppy, right? It can be finances if you're the one who has them and you take care of your crew because you're the one that maybe got super successful and your family didn't. You give what you have to. I made a career of adding kind of femininity and beauty and kindness. I'm a great dinner companion because I love people and I'm an extrovert. I was social chair in my sorority. That's who I am. So I was able to monetize that enough to survive because people wanted that. I literally create atmosphere. I could be a professional dinner guest. It's, I don't know. I was a debutante. I guess it's kind of in me. So we give what we have to give. And to your point, yes, being overly focused on money or sex or power or anything that you get will lead to a sort of a bad life. You can't be too grabby. Yeah.
Right. I concur. This is giving me like vibes, like so. Like at times, I've been hired, like say, by friends to organize an event for them, to get the caterer, to either bartend it myself, which I'm a licensed bartender and massage therapist, or get the DJ, get everything set up, flow monitor the event throughout the night, set everything up, tear everything down. And whatever the client wants, they hired me for this. But if there's extra needed, if we need to go get ice, the floor needs to be swept, you do what you were hired for and more. If
Mhm.
And then of course I was in control of the atmosphere of the experiment. And there was absolutely, of course, no sex involved. It's kind of feeling like that same, like, kind of vibration to me, but if as an individual person, you're coordinating everything possibly for this person, or if it's you showing up on his arm, then it's still to set the tone. I'm not sensing anything demeaning here. I'm not sensing anything disrespectful. It's like it's like you're being hired to do what you said, to work and set the tone, and it's just so similar. It just feels so similar to service work,
Ah,
like in the service industry, though.
it is a service, and certainly I've had people who are disrespectful, like, but of course they are no longer allowed to have access to you because there's no amount of money that's worth poisoning who you are because that'll change you forever, right? I'd rather be broke. So when they are so I met somebody once who wanted to go to see some of these like burlesque type of shows, slightly sexy. I was worried he was going to start angling for sex, but he didn't. But he wanted to like have a kind of sexually charged environment at the box and other places. And then he started to talk about wanting to like this domination stuff. And I'm all for BDSM. I've tried it. It's fine. But he clearly had a lot of anger toward good looking women, had not had a lot of success with them, hence using he was big in a hedge fund, plenty of money, could hire atmosphere models and go to Tabler and, get a table at a club and they'd find 12 models to just be, all that kind of stuff that money does for you. But sort of hated women. And I did get scared. I did feel demeaned. It is a person that's no longer allowed to be anywhere near me. Because at the apex of it all, he confessed that he really hated women, just really hated them and wanted to hurt them. And so that does exist. I think some people are envious and angry about physical beauty and the perks that it provides. In the same way that a lot of people hate rich people because of the perks that money provides. It's easy to envy them because, yeah, they can do a lot of nice shit the rest of us can't. That's true. Private jets are nicer. I can't afford one, but I've been on them. Yeah, it's way better. It sucks. Every time I'm back on United, I'm like, but whatever. It's not my world. I've just served. And I think people feel the same way about beauty, is that I find that odd. Anybody could go to a surgeon with a few bucks, but whatever. They kind of want to possess it. They're angry. Some of that stuff sometimes stems back to like childhood bully. You wanted the cheerleader or whoever, and you couldn't have her because she was with the football quarterback. All these things that are deep and early. And if they don't do the work to heal their soul and heal some of that trauma and envy, it'll manifest in some strange ways, including using their money to try to exert power and do some nasty things to service workers, including me, who are there because we need to pay our bills. So I've certainly seen people who tried to demean me. Been very fortunate to not have to stand for that. I mean, I got into this business already having an undergraduate degree from Berkeley, so I was never going to starve. So I was maybe, for sure, a lot more privileged than some, where if anything was bad, I could just, 86 it.
I'm reminded from the House of Cards on Netflix with Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright, one of his lines from there when he was talking to Zoe Barnes before he threw her ass in front of the train, which, I mean, the bitch had it coming. She was annoying as fuck. But he said that there's like a lot of power in generosity. And I had never heard that before. And I'm always, when I watch a movie or a show, I'm always listening to see what God is trying to teach me. It's entertaining and all that, but if I can yank a life lesson from it and grow as an individual, why not? So there's a lot of power in generosity. So when it comes to gift giving, so if a man wanted to buy me anything, I would ask him for him to explain to me his understanding of the energetic exchange in between the giftee and the giver and the receiver. Because it's not just about letting people give you shit. In voodoo and witchcraft cultures, people who are trying to curse individuals will give them gifts that are cursed, be they jewelry, clothing, different things. So if somebody is too quick to just be like, oh, take, they may not realize what's being done to them, because some people, unfortunately, who are unhealed, as you say, think it's all about getting things from people. And when really it must be like an energetic balance to all things. And what I'm hearing you say is that you have, and I'd like you to speak to, like any kind of meditation or spiritual practices you might have to help you stay energetically balanced, energetic boundaries, because surely there's not as much of an energy exchange as you're not sleeping with them, but there's still a dynamic at play. So do you have any practices? How do you keep your head clear?
So I ended up dating one of my clients, and we did sleep together. We dated for years. I don't know if I'd do that again. It ended sadly and badly, but he's fine. I truly wish the best for him. It took me some time to get to that, and I'm the one who left. But it had, anyway, long story. So So there was the combination of somebody who was supporting me, who was wealthy, and then I did end up falling in love and getting it twisted, and I mean, it happens, I'm a human. That said, yeah, so you're right, the gift giving, I've had countless guys wanna march me through Chanel or a store, and literally, I remember one saying, "It's because you're pretty to dress up like a doll." I was like, "Ew, but also, I need clothes." I was much younger. And those interactions are for sure like a cursed gift. They are reducing you. I think some of them are chasing their own youth. One guy once told me, he said, "When I'm out to dinner with a beautiful woman half my age, I feel younger." Of course, me and my big mouth, I said, "Well, you shouldn't look in a mirror because you don't look any younger. You look like Voldemort sucking the life out of Harry Potter." But not a nice thing to say. I joke. I did not say any of that out loud. But in my head, but I think sometimes men see themselves in the reflection of their woman. And I'm talking about straight men because it's the world I know. This is true of any lesbians, gay people, whatever. People see themselves in the reflection of their partner. So some people are chasing youth. I have known a lot of male clients who kind of lost their youth to like working really hard. They didn't get to have fun and be young. They didn't get to do the prodigal son return like you and me after having all the fun. Which is a chapter you need, that prodigal son, because that's where you get wise, only by having done it and seen it. Some of them never did, so they're doing it now at like 65, and it's super weird. But it's because at 20, they were building an empire, because maybe their parents forced them to, or whatever, you know? So a lot of them chase youth because they never got to like be young and be wild and crazy. I've seen that a lot. And the reason they wanna date young people is because they want a second chance at the youth that they didn't get to have. I'm not excusing creep behavior. And so yes, I deeply feel different after each person that hires me. I wish I didn't, but I don't numb my feelings through alcohol or drugs. A lot of people in my line of work do. I'm trying not to look any older and uglier, so I don't do that stuff. You know, hard to keep good skincare if you're partying all night. So I do deeply feel, and I've left one of my favorite old friends. He was a billionaire, self-made. Every time I left, I felt that so good about the world, and this is the way he made everyone feel. This guy was loved by everyone, and he was flawed. He was a human, but nobody wanted to hurt him because he was a good dude, and the whole world knew it, and I could feel it. Other people, when I've left, I've had to take long baths, meditate, call my therapist because I feel their darkness. I try to embrace my role as a healer, but you can't change or fix people. My ego struggles with that still. And what's fixing, who's to say I'm right? But some people have a lot of pain and suffering, and that does affect you. I do a lot of yoga. I have a therapist. I'm a big fan of an Epsom salt bath. Particularly religious. My father was born Jewish, but went to Catholic school as a refugee. My mother is Episcopal, but very secular. So religion is not really a part of my life. We weren't raised anything. I went to a Presbyterian preschool and then nothing. I've been to lots of churches, temples, and mosques as a tourist, but I don't belong to any or ascribe to any religion. Maybe I should. Maybe I will. But I I look at some of the people that have left me with these feelings of, yeah, I'll have to take a day in quiet sometimes. And I don't really have to deal with that anymore. But in the beginning, I did. When I was broken young, I try to empathize with their pain as best I can. And I try not to hate them because I don't think that serves anybody. But if it's too toxic for me, I have to love them from afar, as people say, because I'm not here to be a martyr to somebody who won't do the work to fix their pain. But yeah, so I probably need better rituals, but my therapist makes a lot of money off me. So hey,
When you say that you said to do your role as a healer, what do you mean specifically?
I think we are having a spiritual experience through a flesh body for these years that we're here in this form. And I think that when you're kind to somebody and you sit across a table and smile and you give them attention and listen to their stories without regard or judgment as best you can. And yes, when you hug them, shake their hand, walk arm in arm to the taxi. Yes, look beautiful and provide them with the status of a nice looking date at an event. I think that can be very nice for people and almost healing. Maybe that's too strong of a word. I'm I don't think what I do is that important, but it has existed forever. And there's got to be a reason, therefore, right? That people have wanted to be around beautiful architecture, beautiful people, beautiful food, beautiful nature, and kindness to the degree I can share it, I think can. I mean, I've held people while they've been crying many, many times. Again, I don't think it has that much to do with me. I think people need attention. People need kindness. I think a lot of people are in pain. I think being alone isn't great for people, and a lot of rich people are alone. Maybe by choice, it's the life they created, whatever. But I do think that providing people attention and, yes, beauty can be a nice thing. Again, not that important, but it can be nice, right?
Everything always boils down to intention. And so if you get dolled up with the intention to go out and alchemize your beauty and all the things that you have on, then it will heal because there is no like limitation on. I practice very high magic. I was raised by very magical people, and that's why I have these sigils on my arms and things like that. I understand magical instrumentation and how to infuse objects with magic. There is a different vibration, okay, in a Chanel dress versus a dress from Walmart. There's a different vibration, okay, in a diamond bracelet from Tiffany versus some shit from the mall. And I'm not saying that the shit from the mall at Walmart is bad, but I'm saying that the craftsmanship that went into it, the quality of the diamonds, where it came from, the care with which it handled infuses it with a higher vibration. Okay. And so this is why when people are around wealth, they take better care of themselves. They wear better things over the years. Sometimes it seems that I'll say we, fuck it, we rich bitches, we look better than other people. It's because it can be because of the simple vibration of the intention to do good and to be good. So if you're going out with somebody, I'm hearing maybe what you're doing is providing like a mother figure, maybe like a strong feminine energy that they didn't have. There's some inner child healing that is going through you to these old rich men whose mothers may have been like mean to them or too forceful or whatever the case may be. And it reminds me, I know y'all remember that fine ass dude, Dexter, the murderer, who we all forgave for butchering people because he was just so sexy and he had a code, right? And so in that one season at the end when that lady was dying of cancer in the hospital and she wanted an authentic piece of key lime pie, and then she wanted Dexter to put the juice in the IV and kill her because she didn't want to suffer with the cancer, but not until he found her an authentic key lime pie. And it took several several tries that he did. And she had key lime pie, and he went on ahead and offed her like she wanted to. Some of these old people you're dealing with are probably looking at it like it's their last chance to feel this youth, to feel alive. So I'm feeling like vibes like you might be giving some of these people their like dying wish, and it's not. I think this is highly fucking valuable. This is like hospice work vibe to me in like a way.
Yeah, I think, again, not trying to make too much of the meager service that I do, but I think, yeah, I've had many of them say after hanging out with somebody like me, and I'm not that unique. They typically hang out with several or have that they feel better when they go to work. They got a pep in their step. And we learn from each other. I've learned so much about success from them. And where would I meet people like that? Where would a middle class kid from Pennsylvania and then Northern California meet people, tycoons, titans of industry? And where are they going to meet somebody who is perfectly sweet, looks great, and then goes away, isn't trying to marry them and become the third wife and whatever else? You know, it, it's very much a win-win. And people get mad because they're like, well, it's too on demand. Well, but so is Uber. You don't get mad at that. I mean, and I think if you can say enlightenment or anyway, having that pep in your step, that looks like different things to different people. I've been broke. Not being able to buy groceries took away all dignity. You can't choose what job you want. You can't choose where to live. You can't choose who to love if you can't fucking buy food. And after Berkeley, when I got my first job, I could not survive. I did what they told me to. I got the STEM degree with honors from the good school. My first job, I was spending money to work there. Was making negative money. And I was going to have to marry an older guy that I did not love, which is what women have done for most of human history. It would not have been better than the life I cobbled together, as flawed as this life is. It would not have been better. And that's what I was going to do, and I didn't want to. And so Arrival to me looked like more freedom, more autonomy, being able to go to grad school, fly planes, shoot guns, all the things I've been able to do because I didn't have to go into a Loveridge marriage to buy groceries. And an Arrival for them, yes, it may look like their last chance to like hang out with somebody 35 years younger who's of a cultural difference that they don't get to hang out with because they're not going to go to a nightclub. They're too famous. They're too old. They can't hear. And so it looks like something different for a sexual assault survivor who's got trauma. It looks like something different for an incel who's very scared of women and is trying to learn to date. Like I told you earlier, hung out with several people who had disability. We don't say disabilities anymore. I'm sorry, I'm old. Different able. One of my old friends was blown up in a landmine in Vietnam. No legs, one arm, but still wanted to be around beautiful women. Had become very successful in the motivational speaking world. Could hang out with models, but he wanted to, and he ended up moving to Mexico and finding a wife, and he's fine. And we were kind of women like me were kind of the dry run for getting back out there after such a devastating experience and everything in his life changing. So there's a million reasons that people do what they do, right? And how they allocate their money and their time. But I think in the end, if they're hopefully not abusing and it's values-based, every single person I ever met didn't want to abuse me, would have been horrified if they thought they were. And so if it's values-based and there's some consent, yes, even for money, then I don't know that you can say it's all bad any more than you could say the guy out there doing construction on the side of the building in a very dangerous job that could harm him is bad. It's necessary. People need it. He's doing it. I hope he derives esteem and meaning from contributing to society in his little tiny way. But I think being fun and carefree and providing attention, and that has value. At least that's what I've seen in my career, that it.
You mentioned that I agree with everything that you're saying, and I love how you're saying it so clearly. You said some people complain about it being too on demand. Have you had any like judgment from like family members or friends that you might care to discuss?
Every day. Well, first of all, I get 1,000 people in my email and DMs every single day saying I should burn in hell. So I get used to that's fun. They have opinions and they want me to know. And yes, so in the modeling to prostitution pipeline is pretty strong. Like a lot of models, they got to go to the yacht party. The agency sends them, but if they don't sleep with the guy, they never get hired again. So like they're not forced to, but if they don't, right? So modeling, acting, prostitution, even ballet dancers back in the day were kind of hookers. Like, young, beautiful people who need money have often slept with benefactors. This is nothing new. So in my world, when I was about, what is that? So it would have been the year 2009. A pimp wanted me to work for him. This guy, David Elms, he owned theeroticreview.com, and he was at the time the kingpin of prostitution in America. He owned a review site. If you had reviews on it, you got clients, and he wanted to corner the industry such that you had to be part of this site or you couldn't make a living. And he wanted me to sell sex, ask my clients to write reviews, and he would charge people to read them, and then I would get more clients paying me for sex. And his idea that we would both become very rich. And I, of course, told him to go fuck himself. And that was a bad idea. Because then he decided to try to ruin my life. Because what happens when you're marketable and pretty is that pimps want to use you to make money. And if you say no, they call it a renegade on the street, but it's kind of the same thing on the internet. If you refuse, they want you dead or whatever, harmed or whatever. They don't like it, right? So I told him to go to hell. I'm not doing that for you. Go get gross. And I didn't know who I was messing with. So he outed me to my family for like doing the Playboy and the sexy stuff. Didn't really care, but they weren't pleased. And I would have liked them to not have to know. They still love me, but they didn't speak to me for a couple years. We were estranged, which was very difficult. Christmas and Thanksgiving sure sucked. And then we all came around again and decided that we'd rather be a family than be destroyed by this asshole. And meanwhile, I was consumed with revenge, so I sued him for defamation and slander, because it turns out if somebody's trying to harm your reputation, even if the things they say are true, it's still defamatory. And what he was saying was things like, he said things like, I slept with animals, which I do not. So, weird choice. Oddly, he said I failed out of college, which I didn't, but I don't know why he won. Whatever. I never even met the guy, but I sued him. He didn't show up in court, so I won. He still owes me like 80 grand. I never collected because I never cared about the money. But then when I won the lawsuit, he tried to kill me. And they put him in prison for 5.5 years, which apparently he's cleaned up his life a little bit. I hear the victim services tells me what they know about his whereabouts forever, as long as they know. And supposedly he's cleaned up his life, which is good. And so far he's left me alone. I left him alone. I had a Russian client who was like, oh yeah, let's have him killed. I was like, no, this is not Moscow. We're not doing that. And he was like, yeah, you're stupid. Like, you should kill him. I'm like, no. So that was very bad. And when my family circled back and decided to love me in spite of the things I've done to bring shame to our family name, that is a grace I don't deserve and cannot repay. And I'm so lucky because it's not the deal everybody gets. And sure, they hate my choices, but they love me. And so I'm not always sure why, but I'm so lucky.
This was that golden heart of yours, platinum heart. It's a platinum heart, baby. Can you tell me like how it was to be on the set of Playboy? Because like and to be on the cover, like anything at all about like this photo shoot or
I've only been on international covers, so I was never in Playboy USA, which really makes me mad. I auditioned in Burbank for Scott Cope, who works there, and it's so weird. They put you like on this bar stool with lights over and you're naked, and then they interview you and you're just answering questions about your little dumb life. And it's the weirdest office. There's like dildos on every desk. It's very sex positive, which is lovely. The financial part's in Chicago, or at least it was, but the entertainment part was in Burbank, California. And so that reel is on some shelf somewhere forever. But because I'm pretty, but I was like a 7.5, 8, not a 10. I did not get the offer for USA Playboy. I got several international covers over the next several years. The most recent of which I think was about 4 years ago. And that's been nice, but that's the D list. And then I got offered the web series, which was proper porn, which I don't do, no judgment. But I'm too shy to fuck on camera. There can't be, like, I can't strip and I can't fuck on camera. Like, I like one-on-one and I love dating and I love romance, but like an audience, like I couldn't be a Broadway person. So I didn't do the web series for Playboy. I did Night Call, their radio show, which they also put on film, kind of like Howard Stern. I did that a few times. Tiffany Granith and a bunch of other hosts. That was great fun. But yeah, so like solidly on the D list. Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. But it's fun. They use a lot of lights that blows out any skin flaws. When you're shooting a lot of skin, I don't eat carbs for a couple weeks so that the things get a little leaner, less puffy. The problem is so does your face. So they have to like add a lot of highlighter. And then it's all hair extensions and lashes and tons of, the best makeup artist I ever had was a Dallas drag queen who had made his living doing makeup in the back room of a strip club. The girls would tip him out between customers, and he would do their makeup. And they looked so much better because he was so good at contouring and highlighting in the dark light of a strip club that they made like 10 times more. And therefore, he made a living. Super nice guy. And but you get who you get. It's up to them who they hire. And you shoot all over, like in studio a lot. The best photos I ever took, we did in Death Valley, California, because desert light, that's why Hollywood went there, like, whatever, 150 years ago. That desert light there's low humidity, it's bright. You get great. That's why people do their, like, engagement photos in, like, Joshua Tree and, Palm Springs. Like, everybody's 10 times hotter in the desert.
Oh, fuck yeah. When I was in the Air Force, what you can appreciate being with your own pilot training and everything. She and I are not just pretty faces, y'all. We know a thing or two. She can fly the planes. I can swing a wrench and fix those some bitches.
We fly because of AMPs, not because, 99% of accidents are pilot error. The planes fly in spite of us, not because of us. But the AMPs, I mean, they are keeping people alive every day at every airport. It's spectacular. The Six Sigma of how safe they've made it. It's unbelievable.
Tell people what AMP is.
Oh, sorry, airplane mechanic professional. Sorry. The people who make the planes work. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like the safest thing we do. It's like, I don't even know, 1,000-fold safer than driving by the numbers. And it wasn't 100 years ago. The U.S. Postal Service pilot, young men your age, it was a legit, like, death sentence. Your family got hooked up. Like, they paid because you were probably going to die delivering the mail. And now, 100 years later, you can be anywhere in the world in a day. These machines that, you went to the Harvard of Aviation, Embry-Riddle. Good job. It's the best school, folks. It's the Harvard. And I did not get in. I just got a license after college, so I didn't get in there, which, whatever. I'm jealous. But, like, unimaginable speed, unimaginable temperatures. And then this thing scoots up to the gate like a swan, and you get off and you're in Dubai. I mean, it's a damn miracle. Like, what a time to be alive, right? I mean, anybody who doesn't think flying is, like, straight from science fiction. I mean, every time we rotate, I'm like, no way. I can't believe this works, right? Physics.
Right, because it's not that old. Because when I was in the Air Force in Arizona in Tucson in the desert, glowing with that desert bronzer, natural bronzer radiating off the rocks, we did a celebration around the year 2001, and the theme of it was a party that I was in charge of coordinating. It was called 100 Years of Flight Leaders Soar Tonight. Myself and a captain in the United States Air Force threw this party together. It had something to do with like 100 years since the Wright brothers or since the Air Force first started flying or something like that. But as old as this Earth is, flight ain't even 200 years old. They even 150. I'm being super conservative with that. Maybe like 130-ish. It's like, it's new as fuck. So yeah, it is a miracle, though.
I mean, humans are insane, right? In very good and very bad ways. But
When you were talking about the drag queen, this is the last question I'm going to ask you, and then we'll get over to the dad jokes, and then I'll get whatever advice that you have for the peoples. The drag queen who was doing the makeup, beating those faces for the gods, and pulling that coin in the process, living out, I'm going to say, her artistry, and just like, following her passion. That passion led to the coin. In our pre-talk, when we were texting each other, you were saying, like, be valuable, get paid. That's like the mindset, with what you do. I see that with the drag queen, with hustlers, with people from that cartoon Robots, I think it was, with Mr. Bigwell. That he said, find a need, fill a need. Can you speak to people about being valuable, using that to get paid? And if somebody wants to get started in your industry, what do they need to know?
I mean, first off, they don't, because it's too hard. So, but if you are hell-bent, they always ask, what if your niece wanted to do this? My first question would be, please don't. Secondly, if you are hell-bent on it, I will do what I can to keep you safe and alive. I will not participate in your career. I want nothing to do with it, but I want people to be safer and alive. So you can DM me. I'm here as much as I can be. That said, yes, a man who is powerful is a man from whom many people want something, right? Be valuable. And I mean man, I mean woman too, all of us. If you want to get paid and also to have a life of meaning, typically the money comes, you have to be of service and valuable. And what I was saying earlier, you have to lose your expectations. You have to come from a place of service. And that's so hard when you need money or when people take advantage of it, because they will. But eventually you find the ones who give as much as they get. The natives used to call it the potlatch, who can compete for being the most generous. And there are those people that when you are of value to them, they will ensure that you benefit financially and otherwise. Connections can be worth far more than money in the long game. All that. And fun, and a life that is great when you're sitting on your deathbed laughing about the nonsense you did, right? And to get started in this, I would advise people to watch and read and look at everything they can. There are a million YouTube channels full of advice. There are a million people on IG, Twitter. There are old-fashioned books, audiobooks. You're going to make mistakes, but do not be so proud that you think you know different. You don't know different. This business has been around for millennia. You are not unique. Learn from your elders so that you don't repeat the mistakes, because some of them can be fatal. I'm not kidding. And the more you learn from others, the fewer mistakes you'll repeat. And then ask. Yeah, you ask, 9 out of 10 will ignore you, but one might have time, or she might. I built my career off of one person who's now a very famous matchmaker in New York. And I don't know why she was so nice to me. I don't know. I didn't deserve it. But I try to pay it forward, because there were a few people like that who have been good to me. And maybe it was just their ego. Maybe that's the only reason I would help somebody is, you get old and you've had a tiny taste of success, and sometimes it feels good to help others. So I would advise them to learn everything they can and then live beneath your means, because if you're broke, you make desperate decisions in business, and those will end up bad. So every time you want to go buy something stupid or waste money, think about that money as time of your life that you traded for it, and live beneath your means. Don't try to impress everybody with all the purses and all the crap or whatever you're doing. Live beneath your means, because the more you save, the greater freedom you will have later. And freedom is the ultimate wealth. Not having to do things you don't want to do because you're broke is more valuable than any stuff you could buy. At least in my opinion, that's what I think that's the function of wealth, is to buy yourself dignity, right? And then connect with people that make you feel positive about the world. Don't be afraid to, with kindness, get people out of your life that make you feel bad. That can be scary in business, because you don't know if you'll ever replace the business. But I promise you will, and you'll do it better if you don't let poison change who you are. It doesn't mean you have to be mean to people when you get them out of your life. But not everyone's for you, and you're not for everybody else, and that's okay. And that takes time to realize, because in the beginning of business, you kind of desperate to keep all the clients or all the connections. And you shouldn't, and you can't. So don't be afraid to be a little bit selective to the degree you're able, and it will change. And what else? As you develop and you get wealthier, hire good CPAs, good lawyers. You don't need them year one, but you will need them. Don't sleep with photographers or agents. It doesn't go well. Or do. What do I care? Do what you want with your life. I mean, you will at times, your business will decline. You trade it for love or fun. Sometimes you'll be more in business mode, and you might be a little lonely, but you're in work engine mode. Both of those chapters of life are okay. Enjoy, try to be present in whatever chapter you're in. We were talking about all the wildness we've had, and then the prodigal son type of return. You want to make that return fun with lots of good stories. So enjoy every chapter you're in. If you're in work hustle mode and you want that money, use that fuel. Work. But if you find love and you want to make a little less and have a baby or get married, don't judge yourself and don't compare yourself to what others are doing. Only you know what's right for your journey, and that can change all the time. I've retired twice for over a couple years each, and then came back. It happens. Every time I was sure I was retired. No, didn't work out.
I like to scare, like your farewell tour, but not really.
Oh my God. Yeah, classic, right? Thinking you have it all figured out. I mean, the Great Recession with one of those, I was like, I'm set for life. Yeah, oops. Nope. So, and that's fine. We're here for a profound expression of enlightenment expressed through these bodies. And I don't know what the next journey brings after this form, but try to take pleasure in this brief form we're in, even with its pain and its nonsense. You were in love, then you had pain. I don't know if you would do it over again. I would, the ones I've had, even with the pain. I would do it again. It's all, I mean,
With the new person, with the new person.
well, yeah, I probably will. I'm so dumb. Watch me like fall in love. Oh my God. If I fall in love with some young guy and I tell you, this is Chad. He's an actor and I'm going to buy him an apartment. Come and kick me right in the face. If I do,
That'll be the first one. We don't.
like,
Queen,
no.
dude. And that's
I mean, we're just, try to nurture your soul, but try to enjoy the ridiculousness of this, including your career. Logistically, I won't belabor it too much about what to do because all of this is already on people's advice YouTube channels and books and social media. But like, when you go to a client, if you don't have a chaperone, like have a safety call, leave a paper trail of where you are, don't go to people you don't know. I mean, all those little things, but those are details that, again, that there's others that have entire channels on socials and YouTube that have many, many instructional videos, and I won't belabor what they already have up content-wise. So.
all very well stated and fluidly spoken. I want to emphasize one thing before we get over into the dad jokes. When you were talking about letting go of toxic business, I wanted to emphasize that because it is important to do. I run a lingerie store called downunderapparel.com, and we sell lingerie and sportswear and things like that. Some dresses and gowns. Also had it for almost 10 years. That was my first business after being homeless, after being a drug dealer and getting HIV. I started in the flea market in Denham Springs outside of Baton Rouge, and now we sell globally. There was one brand on there, and the designer is racist. And after I discovered that and sat with that for a moment, I had to let that line go, and it sucked because it was a very niche sort of style that he had, and certain customers would only come to the website to get that style. But then we did take a financial hit, and we're still trying to recover from that. But I couldn't have peace having that on my website, knowing what he stands for. A shaman that I know in Mexico had to let a client go because she's a female and this guy is like a bigot and he hates women. And so even though he was a constant stream of income, she made the decision after sitting with it and in the spirit and meditation and whatever, we were both like, we have to let these streams of income go. It's not worth the energetic toxicity that's going to cost us much more in the future. We hang on to it. We will trust the spirit and the divine to bring us this money or more money another way and honor us trying to honor what's right and the sanctity of purity, even in business. And we let those toxic streams of income go, because what Lucifer will do is infuse poison into your life through these toxic streams of income, only to make you suffer for it later. And then you're going to spend up all you made in one form or another. So it's not worth it.
It's funny when people are uncomfortable with the way they earn a living, they will find a way to get rid of that money. It'll just slip because they don't want it, because they know they're not healed with the way they're earning it. That is completely true. And by the way, about your beautiful down under, I want to post a bunch of stuff too for my people in my industry. They got to see some of it. And I know I'm a little older, but it does look good. So you just keep hustling, keep building, you replace it. And
Oh
even if
yeah.
you didn't, if for some reason you never did, which you will, it, you can't, I think finding a balance between the physical pleasures, money, food, sex, and those are fun. We're here having a physical experience for a while. But finding a balance between those and spiritual growth can be a challenge, right? Life is expensive. We get horny. We get hungry. It's great to explore different altered states of consciousness, but you can't do that all day, every day, right? Finding a balance has been very hard for me. I continue to try. I think that's fairly normal. The earthly needs and pleasures versus the higher, right?
Amen, amen. We're preaching today. So, these dad jokes are coming from fatherly.com. And there will be 3 of them. Do your best. And let's see. The first one is, how do moths swim?
How do you whim? Something with a light? Something. I'm so dumb. I got nothing.
Using the butterfly stroke.
Oh, come on. Oh, Dad. It's not good. I did not get that.
I think people, if they were on psychedelics or some weed or some shit, then these things would like flow.
They're even better if I was stoned right now.
Right. So, what did the duck say when it bought lipstick?
Duck? Quack? All I got is quack. It doesn't relate to lipstick. I'm not even high right now, and I'm so dumb. Duck, I got nothing. Do tell.
Put it on my bill.
Oh, God. So nice. Nice. On my bill. That would be kind of cute.
Donald Duck had that girlfriend in the cartoons.
Daisy?
Daisy Duck. Yeah, that sounds.
Oh,
You need to go back and look if her lips were painted, girl. Yeah.
he had the cute little ruffled dress. Didn't she have like no underpants on? Like none of them ever wore pants. They just Porky Pigged it with like shirt and no pants all the time.
You know what Disney's really about.
I mean, a lot of that was kind of questionable.
It is what it is.
Why was the middle-aged lady, like the queen or the mom, always such a cunt who like hated her? Sorry, can I say that? Such a
Well, of course.
okay.
Cunt's one of my
Like,
favorite words.
she always like wanted to be young and hated her daughter and like wanted to murder her. Like, can we stop with the trope of like women my age being like horrible bitches who want to be 19 again? I hated being 19. I like being old. It's cool. It's super fun. Like, anyway, rant over. Okay.
Yep, that's what we're here for. Let be cathartic. Get it out. Get it out. Look. You know what? I'm here for me some Maleficent. They can change and everything can be happy.
Well, she's more complex. Yeah. And I
Very,
mean,
very
Angelina,
nice.
do no wrong.
I know, with those pouty lips. Okay, so then the last one is, why are nails bad at racing?
Wait, say again?
I'm sorry, why are snails bad at racing?
Well, they're slow.
True, keep going with that. That's getting there.
They have a shell. Oh my God, I'm the dumbest. I don't know.
Because they're sluggish.
Oh my God. Sluggish. They are. Oh. Dad jokes. Love it. So good. So good.
All right, Amy. Y'all, the website is amytaylor.com, on X, IG, and YouTube at Amy Taylor NYC. Thank you so much for being such a spectacular and bright, resilient guest today. I look forward to releasing this on YouTube and on all the podcasting networks.
It was such a pleasure. Keep making beautiful lingerie and clothing, and keep loving this world in spite of itself, because it needs it.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for joining us today and for taking some time to invest into yourself and into the lives of your loved ones. Please visit us at sexdrugsandjesus.com and check out our resource page, our spiritual service offerings, my blog, my books, and other writings that God has partnered with me to create. Find us on any social media platform. Stay strong, my people, and just remember that everything is going to be all right.